Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me. This is Ciara from CRT Designs, and today I have some more of these beautiful Spellbinder Snowflake cards to share with you. So let's jump right in. So last week I created a card with a cream base, and I really thought it would be fun to use a different color of base for these as well. So those, that one you see kind of sitting up in the top right corner, that's actually from a Simon Says Stamp kit. It came like that. It's already a card base, and that's out of the Audrey blue cardstock. And I thought it would be really fun to also make a royal purple cardstock, because you guys know that I love purple. If you've been with my channel for a little while, purple is my favorite color. So I decided to kind of go with that tealy blue color and then also make a purple one so that I could kind of have really bright, vibrant backgrounds for this beautiful snowflake. So to add a little drama to my cardstock, and this is the base, I don't have a panel. I'm just going to work directly on the base for these cards, which is something I also have never done really, generally because if you make mistakes, that means your base is kind of ruined. But normally I don't find that there are many mistakes you can make that you can't fix, but I do tend to add mats and add layers, and I just kind of thought it would be fun to work just directly on the card base for a bit of a more thin card, because I do send a lot of my Christmas cards to my pen pals at in the December time and Christmas time. So I'm kind of trying my hand at not adding layers and not adding a lot of bulk to a card just to see if it makes that much difference when I actually go to mail them. So I thought this would be kind of interesting, and I've never really worked on a base, so I thought that would be kind of fun. So we're doing a couple things I've never done in this video before. I cannot tell you the last time that I've used a colored base. Generally, I always use white and then just kind of create layers and add a mat and whatever, but I thought we would try something completely different just because it would be kind of fun. So as I said, I am using royal purple cardstock and Audrey blue cardstock for my bases. And then I brought in 2 shades of distress ink. These are the minis. I don't own the full ink pads. And I used, for the purple card, I used Villainous Potion and Black Soot. And then on this one, I'm going to use chipped sapphire and black soot. So it's just really to create a little bit of drama in the color. It kind of just gives it a little something extra. It's not necessary, but I do like to add just a kind of bit more interest to the cards. So this was kind of my way to just bring in a slightly more interesting outline, or like around the, like it's almost like a border, I guess, for the card base, just to create something a little bit more exciting and a little more interesting. But you don't have to. You could absolutely just leave it the way it is. I just like to add a little bit of extra texture and interest. And then I did bring in the large snowflake. This is from the Card Creator by Spellbinders, and you can see here I did struggle a little bit to cut it. That's because, honestly, I think it's because I left this bigger sheet. Because I'm using a smaller plate and base to go through my switch, I can have big cardstock sheets, but I honestly think that it didn't cut through because of that. And here I'm just double checking that it didn't cut through. So you're going to see here in a second, I'm actually going to cut this down, and that's going to give me a way better result. So here you said I've cut it down and I've run it back through, and now it's perfect. So it's just that, you know, I was being lazy and I should have just cut it down to start with, but I was like, but it'll fit, so it's fine. Yeah, just cut it down. Don't be me. Don't be lazy. Just cut your cardstock. I don't know what I was thinking. I just, it's one of those days. So I am going to run this through twice. This is the same snowflake you guys saw me use maybe 2 weeks ago in a video where I created a snowflake shaped card with the base, because this does come with like a border piece as well. I just chose to use the detail layer for this as I thought that it would look really pretty, especially with these colored backgrounds. So I did bring in just these really pretty glitter cardstock and cut the snowflake out twice. And then you see it did take me a second, but I was able to separate it from the cardstock. And then on my second attempt at this, I cut the cardstock down. I didn't try to run it through with a big sheet, and I had a lot more success this time. So don't do as I do. Do better than I do. I would say do as I say, but you don't have to do that either. Just do better than I do. Learn from my mistakes and my laziness. So I did just kind of pop this out. I like to do it from the back with glitter cardstock. I find that I have more success doing it this way, just because I find sometimes they're coated and this one is. So it's easier to kind of separate it from the back of the piece of cardstock. So it's kind of what I'm doing. And then I just kind of lift it off of the die very gently, because it does have some delicate areas. And that's why I also used my chrome base plate, because this is a more delicate die cut, and it was just a way easier way to make sure that I wasn't going to have issues releasing this from the die. I'm pretty sure this die set's going to make another appearance, probably not now until my Christmas series, because I do a 12 weeks in Christmas series. It starts usually in October, and then every Monday for 12 weeks is a Christmas card. But it's going to make another appearance, I'm sure, because it actually has extra dies that come with it, I think, that kind of go in some of the areas of this detailed snowflake. So it's very likely that I'm going to end up using it again. And I mean, why not? It's a die. You get to use this again and again and again. That's the fun thing about dies. They're an investment because they're generally not inexpensive. But dies are really fun because you just keep using them over and over and over and over. And you guys, if you've been with my channel for a little while, know how much I love snowflakes. So in my last card, when I used the base to kind of create that shaped card, that ended up being larger than a 5x7 card because that's how big this snowflake with its base is. So I thought it would be really fun to kind of bring this in and make A2 sized cards out of it to show that there is a lot of versatility in a large die like this. So you can use it for scrapbook pages because it's so large. Not that I would do that, but I'm sure people can because I've seen some stunning scrapbook pages. But you can also use it for smaller cards like this, an A2 size smaller card if you like those size, or a 5x7 card because it is large. So, you kind of get a lot of versatility out of a bigger die set like this because it fits in so many different variations. But for this one, I kind of chose to have it cover most of the card, and then I'm just going to chop off the little bit that's left kind of hanging off of the card base so that I don't have to worry about it. I mean, you could then make a custom envelope, but because these are so delicate, honestly, they would just probably bend and rip. So there's no point for this style of card. I mean, if you made a 5x7 card, you could fit the majority of the die and then you wouldn't have to worry. But I'm choosing to do A2 just to kind of show you versatility with this die set. And then for my sentiment, I brought in the Spellbinders Snowflake Wishes stamps and dies. So I will use the stamps here in a second, but I used the die and I cut it out of those same two cardstocks. So that's the Royal Purple and then the Audrey Blue. And I have, I think, believe and sending is the top word on these. And I am going to, here in a minute, show you that I did actually have to die cut out just a couple of layers to help them stand out against the background. As you would have seen from the beginning picture, I am going to choose to do one of these cards as landscape and one of them as portrait. I thought that was just kind of fun because you could easily turn them either direction depending on if you have a preference. I don't really have a preference. I kind of make both, though I do think that I tend towards the landscape a little more just because I like that design a little better. But really, there's no real preference there. It's just whichever you prefer to do. I'm just showing that you could easily turn this into either layout depending on what you prefer. So I did just stamp this. This is this matching stamps that go with this die. And I believe this one is Believe in the Magic of Christmas, Believe in Christmas Magic is this one. And I'm going to white heat emboss these so that they kind of stand up against the background. I just thought that this would be a fun pop of white because we do have that white glitter cardstock. So there's already white in the design. So this is just kind of fun way to just kind of add that. And then this one I believe says Sending a Little Sparkle Your Way. I'm pretty sure. But this stamp set has a whole bunch of different, there's like anniversary ones. I think there's even a birthday one in there. So it's not Christmas themed necessarily. It's just does have Christmas sentiments. So I thought that was kind of really neat if you wanted to use it for different cards. I'm choosing to make these more of a Christmas card because they have large snowflakes on them and that always makes me think of Christmas, but you don't have to. You could absolutely make a, snow themed birthday card for somebody who's born in the winter months, right? So I did end up choosing to bring in those it's two for each, Distress Ink colors, just to kind of add a little more interest to these sentiments as well and have them kind of match. I did consider switching them, like having the tealy colored one kind of on the purple background and then the purpley one on the tealy background. I chose not to in the end. You could, I think it would have looked really pretty, but unless you see the cards together, it kind of doesn't make sense because there's nothing else tying that color in, if that makes sense. So I kind of chose just to stick with the two colors that are already on the card instead. But there's no right or wrong thing. You could have absolutely, you could have done this in white, die cut the sentiment piece out in white, stamped it in the color, and then used these same colors to kind of blend it into white. And that would have looked really pretty too. I chose to go with color because we're already going there, so why not just go all in? But I did use those same Distress Ink colors. I have the Villainous Potion and Black Soot for the purple one, and then I have Chipped Sapphire and Black Soot for the blue one. And this is where I just brought in my Sizzix Sidekick. This is just because it's small and easy, and these were really easy to run through it. So instead of, using my switch to cut out such small dies, I just ran it through my Sidekick. This is after I've done everything because I decided I wanted to give it a little more dimension. And the easiest way to get those letters to pop up was to have this same die sit behind them. You could cut out tiny, I don't even know if you could get foam strips tiny enough for how thin those letters are. Maybe you could. I was not going to fiddle with that. That sounds like way too much effort for me. So I just layered up my die cuts this way, and it was just easier to run them through the Sidekick. Because at this point, I'm ready to have my dinner. So I'm kind of like, hey, let's get this done. So it's easy to just bust out my little Sidekick and have it stick to my glass mat so it can quickly cut these out. And then I'm just going to layer them up. I'm going to show you the one here. So I did just use my liquid glue, so I had a few seconds to kind of shift it around to make sure that they were lined up properly. And honestly, I think that I stamped my sentiments a little bit off kilter. They're not quite straight. It's not that easy to tell. You'll see it here when I hold it up in a minute, but I mean, I don't know. I don't aim for perfection. I kind of try to make cards that make me smile. So when I send them to other people, I hope that they smile. But if that's something concerning to you, you could be more aware of it than I am. I just kind of like to get things done because I'm like finishing this up and I'm like, okay, what's my next project? Because I work all week this week, so I need to have both Monday's video and Thursday's video done before the end of Sunday. So I was finishing these up on Saturday, and then I'm kind of like, okay, what do I have to make tomorrow for Thursday's video? Because I have to work all week. And I do longer days. So coming home to create is just not a good thing for me. So you just saw me cleaning out a little bit of the excess glue that kind of smushed out when I put my layers together. And I just wiped it on my hand, and then once it's dry, I just rub it off. It's not a big deal to me. You could put it on a cloth or whatever you prefer, but this just works for me. And then here you can see this is where I've decided that I'm going to do one landscape and one portrait. So I adhered the sentiments kind of in the exact same area, just depending on whatever layout I chose to use. And then I did hold it down with an acrylic block just to give it a little time to adhere before I, left the sentiment on its own, just because with that snowflake behind it, it does have a little bit of height in one area, so it's just a little easier. And then because I can't ever not add glitter to things, I did bring in a couple of icy sparkle crystals just to go around the sentiment. They match that glittery cardstock beautifully, so they really worked out really well for this design, I think, and it just added a little more interest down in that corner with the sentiment. But again, not necessary. I just like to add sparkle because it kind of makes me happy, and that's kind of my whole idea when making cards. Is just as long as it makes me smile, I think it's pretty good turnout. So and that is the 2 cards that I made for you guys this week. I hope you enjoyed them. I hope you'll leave me a like, leave me a comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday, and we are getting very close to the 12 Weeks of Christmas series. Usually starts right in the beginning of October. So I will let you guys know when we're getting closer to that, because it's not going to start here for a couple weeks. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think of these cards. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching my video and all of your love, and I will see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye for now.